We want to go ahead and bring in Andy Levin. He's the U.S. Representative for Michigan's 9th Congressional District. Great to have you with us again here on the Oakland County MegaCast.
Hey, it's great to be with you.
So many things that we want to talk about. We'll get to the vaccine and COVID-19 and the relief in just a minute, but we have to start off by talking about the election. We're, 3 weeks post-election, but it's still making news, obviously, here in the state of Michigan with President Trump and all the lawsuits.
Lawsuits, and they all have failed and will fail because Michigan ran an election that we can all be really proud of. In my district, all of the Republican and Democratic local clerks, I've talked to them. They all did a great job. This is not normally something that's at all partisan. It's sort of like, I play beer league hockey. I mean, some weeks we win, some we lose, but we go down the line and shake hands, even if you lost like 7-0 or if you won 2-1, you accept the results. And that's been foundational for our democracy. So it was a clean election. It wasn't close in Michigan. And so that's the deal. Let's move on.
Do you think we'll ever see another election quite like this one? Because on top of the candidates involved, we also put on an election in the middle of a pandemic.
In the middle of a pandemic. I mean, I think in some ways we will, because we were poised to move in the direction of a lot more people voting at home anyway, because we had just passed the Promote the Vote referendum in 2018, we the voters of Michigan. So now everybody can vote for absentee for no reason. It's a lot easier to register. College students can vote right at school if they want to. People can walk in to their clerk on election day who never voted before and say, gee, I want to register and vote, and they can do it on the spot. So there's a lot of improvements to our democracy that we made here in Michigan that we can be really proud of. But you are so right. It was incredible. And the idea that we pulled off an election in the middle of a pandemic with everybody, record turnout, everybody having their voice heard, it's a real tribute to our local clerks. And think of all the citizens, right, who just help out. They may get paid a little bit of money, but, a lot of people who every election, they go in there. This time they did it at risk of their own health. I went to, 10 or 12 different polling locations, and I was so inspired. When you attack the integrity of our election, you're attacking these regular folks, right, who just go out there and help out in the school gym or the church or whatever it is, right? It's a wonderful American thing that we do. We ought to be really proud of it. That's my view.
Yeah, I have family members that volunteer at the polls every single year. It's an educational process, but also a great way to give back to our democracy. And of course, now with the outcome, the Biden transition is starting to take place. Your name is obviously being tossed around as a potential to join the Biden team. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it's just an incredible honor to have your name bandied about like that. I have, it's up to President-elect Biden to pick his cabinet. I have my assumption is that I'll be serving in the 117th Congress. I'm getting ready for it. We are working super hard to organize it. I'm still working to drop a few bills in the 116th Congress in these last couple of weeks, because they have a lot more momentum in the next Congress if they've already been introduced. We're having our organizing meetings for the 117th Congress, picking our leadership. So I'm fully looking ahead to the honor and wonder, really, of representing the people of Michigan's 9th District in the 117th Congress. And, that's what I have to assume will happen. But it's an honor to be mentioned anyway.
So if you are offered the position being tossed around as Secretary of Labor, would you take that position or would you stay where you are?
I don't think it's helpful to think about like hypotheticals. I certainly would take it super seriously and consider it seriously. Can you imagine a president like Biden offering you a job like that? I can't even imagine it quite. And I will say this, Ronnie, wherever I am in Congress or in the Labor Department, I mean, it's clear what my life's mission has been to raise up the voice and power of working people in our country. Since I was a college student advocating for the striking workers of the cap and gown manufacturer my college used, which is many years ago, through many years of directly helping workers form unions with SEIU. I was the staff attorney for President Clinton's Labor Law Reform Commission. I was the president of the Harvard Labor Law Project when I was in law school. For 11 years, I was the assistant director of organizing at the National AFL-CIO. I served, how did I serve Governor Granholm as her chief workforce officer and in helping Michigan workers who were underemployed or unemployed go back to school to get certificates and degrees leading to in-demand jobs during the auto implosion and the Great Recession. So this has really been my life, and I'm going to keep doing it, raising the standard of living for working people. That's my mission wherever I am. And my guess is it'll be in Congress, but who knows?
Well, with that, we do have so many families struggling right now. A lot of them right here in Michigan, with the restaurants being paused, the movie theaters, the ice skating rinks, but yet there's no federal help like the first round. What do you want those people that are struggling to pay their bills to know right now about what you and the other elected leaders are doing to help us survive the pandemic?
Isn't that just it's almost criminal. I mean, it's just such a shame. In the House, we passed what we called the HEROES Act on May 15th. And then when the Senate said that was too big for them, we cut it by 50% and passed it again on October 1st. And so we're still ready to negotiate. The Senate hasn't passed anything. So it's not as if we passed one thing and then they passed something different and we couldn't agree in a conference committee. They still haven't passed anything. So, in our updated bill, we restored unemployment benefits, the $600 a week, the broader coverage. We passed another round of direct payments for every taxpayer, every family, $1,200 per adult and $500 for a dependent. We passed $436 billion for assistance to state and local and territorial and tribal governments. We had $75 billion for COVID testing and contact tracing, including a lot of language from my Coronavirus Containment Corps Act, basically a bill to stand up a national contact tracing workforce. We passed in there a requirement that OSHA stand up enforceable standards for our grocery workers and our food, our food processing workers, our hospital and nursing home workers. It goes on, and the Senate still hasn't acted. I'm going back to Washington on Wednesday, and I would like to stay there until the Senate agrees to something. The people can't wait any longer. If you're a renter, if you're a homeowner, if you're a restaurant owner, if you own something like the Magic Bag or one of the other local venues, what on earth are you supposed to do with the federal government refusing to help? We need to get in there and rush assistance to the American people. And I hope the Senate will get in the game. I know President-elect Biden's team is ready to help out. Secretary Mnuchin, was a good negotiator with Speaker Pelosi for a while there in the spring. So hopefully we can get something done. It'd be a good Christmas present for America, that's for sure.
Definitely. And is there a possibility that a compromise can be made to try to get some of this stuff done?
Absolutely. I don't see why not. I honestly don't. I mean, after all, as you pointed out, we passed 4 bills in March and April, basically, February, March, April, that were bipartisan. They passed the House and the Senate, and they gave relief. The most famous one, and by far the biggest, was the CARES Act that had the bulk of the relief. But there's just no reason why we shouldn't do that again. I mean, after we passed the CARES Act, Senate Majority Leader McConnell said, well, now we want to take a pause. We don't believe anything more is necessary. By now, isn't it obvious that we need to do something? That the virus is raging out of control. It's causing a lot more people to be unemployed and to possibly lose their businesses. We need to help people right now. So I hope we can reach a compromise. Really do.
Yeah, because as you just mentioned, the numbers are spiking. They're surging here in the state of Michigan, across the country, but a vaccine is also on the horizon. Are you aware of any talks being made on the federal level about the distribution of a vaccine when it's approved and when it becomes available?
Oh, absolutely. There's actually a body of scientists who are tasked with deciding how to distribute the vaccine. Clearly hospital and other healthcare workers would be first responders, ambulance, police, fire, that kind of thing. There's, nursing home residents, people who work in prisons. I mean, obviously people who are in prisons are forced to be very close together and eat together. So there are many considerations about who would be first. And then after the workers, then you've got the people most at risk, like older people or people with immunocompromising conditions and so forth. But I think the thing that is most important is this: it's going to be 6 or 9 months before everybody can get vaccinated under the best of circumstances. Next spring, maybe well into the summer. And so we are in for a rough winter here, and we all need to do our part. Even if everybody, let's say we found out like by some magic act, and remember that you have to get 2 rounds of vaccine, but even let's assume everybody got a first and a second round all at the same moment in, April or something. Well, what on earth are we going to do to protect ourselves in the meantime? I mean, we had over 4 million cases in November in the United States. That's almost 30% of all cases were just this month. Deaths are up 26% over the last 2 weeks. Hospitalizations are up 36%. We're likely to have 200,000 more people dying here in over the next months unless we all wear masks, maintain social distance, wash our hands, all the basic things that the public health experts are telling us we need to do. So I am very optimistic about vaccines. I'm so proud as an American that our, companies and other companies elsewhere are zooming ahead with this, but we need to all take care of each other until that happens.
Yeah, it's been a great collaboration amongst the drug companies and the scientists to come together worldwide to actually come up with the vaccine. Andy Levin with us here on the Oakland County MegaCast. He's the U.S. representative for Michigan's 9th Congressional District. Just another minute here with you. Anything that you want the public to know that maybe we didn't touch on here today?
Well, I just want to emphasize to everybody that we see the light at the end of the tunnel, but we need to get from here to there. I don't want to lose tens of thousands of more Americans, thousands of more Michiganders, unnecessarily before we have a vaccine. So I just think that's the single most important thing we can all do right now is take care of each other. And it's a really sad thing. And I think we have to admit that. If we didn't have Thanksgiving, I didn't have 20 people at my house for Thanksgiving, like we normally do. We had 5. But we had so many creative Zooms with our nieces and nephews and, all the silly things. We made a lot of new silly traditions of, doing fun things together. So we need to, in a spirit of unity and sort of that kind of can-do American spirit, not let this be politicized. Instead, accept science, follow it, and know that we will get to the other side of this within really just a small number of months. So we can do this, Michigan. We can do this, Oakland County, but it's really important for us to come together over these last months before the virus is controlled, because most people have been vaccinated.
U.S. Representative Andy Levin with us on the Oakland County Megacast. He is from Michigan's 9th Congressional District, joining us on the show today. And Representative Levin, just before you go, you talked about some of the things that you've been working on in Congress and will be as you go back into Washington, D.C. One of those things is the passage of a reauthorization of the National Apprenticeship Act. If you wouldn't mind giving some introduction to that for those that maybe aren't familiar with it, and what a reauthorization of this act may do for the people of the U.S. and people of Michigan.
Absolutely. Well, this is a kind of an amazing thing that I didn't even know, but our apprenticeship law was passed as part of the New Deal in 1937, and it's never been reauthorized. So it's just sort of sat there without being updated for more modern times. And this bill is terrific. We passed it through the House. It would expand access to registered apprenticeships, youth apprenticeships, something that's really important to me, pre-apprenticeships. So in other words, how do you get young people ready to pass the tests and get into an apprenticeship to be a carpenter or a bricklayer or an electrician or an operating engineer, or apprenticeships in new areas like cuisine and so forth. It includes $10.5 billion of benefits to U.S. taxpayers in the form of increased tax revenue and decreasing spending on public assistance and unemployment insurance, because more people will have jobs and be well paid. The details about apprenticeships is really amazing. Apprentices earn an average starting wage above $70,000 a year. And 94% of people who complete an apprenticeship, a registered apprenticeship, get a job in their field. So it's really probably our hidden gem of workforce programs. And this bill will expand it to new fields, let a lot more Americans earn while they learn. Basically, an apprenticeship says, look, you're going to become a master at a certain craft. We're going to pay you while you learn it. You'll combine schooling and work right from the beginning and get paid the whole time, so that at the end of the apprenticeship, you will be the best trained person in that field, and you'll have a whole career ahead of you. And that's worked in the building trades, the most famous area, for 100 years. And now we want to expand it because it's such a great way for people to get good jobs. It shows that as much as we want a lot more people to go to college, which is a wonderful thing, there are also other great avenues to have a good paying job with good benefits and a secure retirement, and that is through apprenticeship. So I'm really bullish on this, and I really think that President-elect Biden will be all about it and will expand apprenticeships greatly during his time as president.
Well, that's a great program. We know so many industries right now and so many companies that are looking for skilled workers. So the two go hand in hand. Andy Levin, thank you so much for your time here on the Oakland County Megacast.
It's great to be with you always. Love the show, and take care of yourselves.